Hi, everyone. It's Thursday night. It's time to learn something new. I hope everyone is doing well. So what are we going to do tonight? Tonight we're going to go back to about garment sewing. And but it's altering a garment, sort of, making it more unique. But a lot of times a t-shirt that you buy is too short, especially if you're a little tall. They always sort of chop you in half. They're too short. And therefore, sometimes you can fix that without having to make your own t-shirts. If you've got one that fits you well, except it's too short, or you want to add a little more pizzazz to it, you can add a banding to it. Or if you're making your own t-shirt, you can make it with a band, because for the band, you don't have to have a cover stitch. In fact, you don't even have to have a serger, although a serger is best for knits. It's always much nicer with knits. So like here's an older t-shirt, and I like this t-shirt. It's a little worn, and it's all wrinkled because I'm in the back of the closet because I never wear it. I hate it. It's too short, and it sticks right across, it cuts right across the fattest part of my behind, which is rather large. So I want to cover it up a little more. Was the same problem with this one. And this one it's a ready-made t-shirt here, and it's way too short. So I'm going to add a banding to it. Sometimes the sleeves are too short. So you want to go ahead and you can put banding, and it's nice in a contrasting fabric. And usually if I'm going to put a band at the bottom, I'm going to put a band on the sleeve so it looks like the shirt should be that way. And I just didn't add a piece just for the heck of it. So here's one sleeve that's finished. Okay. So what I've done, now I did use the cover stitch, but you don't have to. You can use a twin needle. Or if you're really good at aiming your sewing machine, then you can go ahead and do one line, then another. And it looks very neat. I added the blue to this teal. And I think I used maybe a half a yard, if that much. It depends on how big of bands that you want. And see, the inside, I did use my serger. So the inside of the sleeve, the inside of the banding is nice and neat. See how neat that is? So it looks really nice. So I'm happy with it. Okay. I'm also going to show you how to put banding. This is classical banding where it goes all the way around in sort of one piece. I'm also going to show you how to do a split banding at the bottom hem. And mostly because, well, it look nice where the back has got a slit in it, because a lot of times you might need just that little bit of extra room to move around, but having a t-shirt, and it'll ride up on you and make ripples around the middle, or else it just looks like a tent if it fits just right. A lot of times these things can look like tents. So this one you can get away with a little bit smaller t-shirt, and then if you put a split banding at the bottom, it'll look really nice. First of all, you have to decide how big of a banding you want, how wide you want it to be. So this one, I wanted it to be about 1.5 inches long, but this I made it as a double banding, so it looks like it's 2 pieces, or you're wearing another shirt underneath. And so I made it a little bit longer. This one, I wanted my finished banding to be 2 inches wide. So getting rid of about 3/4 of an inch for a hem. So let's say you want it 2 inches wide. You're going to cut it I cut this banding 4 inches, and then and of course you're going to have what is showing. You're going to want to add at least 3/8 of an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch, a little more. You have to sort of play with it and see what's going to look good. So you want to measure it exactly. You want the length of the banding to be, well, here's the piece of the banding. Okay, here's the sleeve banding. Okay, because it's doubled. Okay, so I cut this 4 inches, and of course it's going to be 2 inches when you fold it in half, because it's always folded, because you don't have a hem at the bottom. That's the whole idea of this, because you don't want to put a hem at a hem. And then also, if it's just regular banding, your seam allowance, if you're using actually you can use a serger or a sewing machine. If you are using a regular sewing machine foot, if you are stitching in the left needle position, then this distance between this edge and the needle is 3/8 of an inch, and that's what I like to use. If you're using the 1/4 inch foot, which we quilters absolutely love, this is the 1/4 inch foot. From that center needle position to this right side of the foot is 3/8 of an inch. So that's why I like to use a 3/8 of an inch. If you are serging the regular serge, which is like this is a regular serge, is normally 3/8 of an inch. So that's what I like to use when I'm figuring out the distance. If I were doing just a plain band, then I would take however wide I want it to finish and add 3/4 of an inch. So I want it to finish 2 inches. So I'm going to cut my strip 4 inches plus 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so when it's folded in half, here's my seam allowance, and then 2 inches to finish out the length of it. Now most knits have a part that's more stretchy than the other, so you want to stretch it, and you want that to go around the body or around the arm. This is going to go up and down. It doesn't have very much stretch. Can you do it with a woven? Yes, you can do it with a woven, but if you're doing banding with a woven, I recommend that you make the split banding, because woven has no stretch whatsoever, and so it can not look wonderful. Works. You can also do the same technique on a woven blouse as well, or a skirt. It looks really nice on a skirt. If I ever wore dresses, I don't do dresses. I have ugly legs. So there's this one. This is my front banding. I wanted the front banding to be 3. I'm making this a little bit longer. If I were doing normal front banding, I would probably also cut this 4 inches, but I cut it 5 inches for the front, and I cut it 8 inches for the back, because I want it to be longer in the back than it is in the front. You'll see a lot of sportswear like that, where the back banding is a longer flap than the front. Okay, now when you're measuring the width of this, you want it to be exactly the width of where it's going to go. You're not going to be doing any ease or stretching when you're putting on banding. So you want to measure the sleeve. So now what I did with this sleeve is I took the stitching out of the hem, because you don't have to. You could cut it off, but this sleeve is very, very short, and I didn't want to cut it off. And so if I cut it off, it would be over here, so I'd be sewing into the arm's eye underneath, and that would not be comfortable. That's too thick. So I removed the stitching, and it's easy to remove serge stitches, but on the bottom, you could just simply cut it. I don't like to put double stitching at the hem, because like if I were to take this out, which I'm going to do, okay, how you take stitches out. And if you can see, there's stitches going straight across, and I'm going to cut the needle threads, a couple of them. I'm just cutting a few of these needle threads until I can pull it up. Okay, we don't want to pull. This one's not going to come apart so easily, because this has been washed and worn many times. But you would just simply take a few of these stitches out until you can pull a strand. Here we go. Okay, there, and you want to get it started. And once you get the back started, there's a chain back there, so you can pull it and pull it and pull it. And now here's my threads. And then I would press. See, now I pull those threads and I just press it. You could just cut it here and not have to take anything out. That's fine too. You could cut it here and that, but you know, this one has been worn a lot. So, you know, it's short enough as it is, but I'm going to try it this way. And mostly what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew it here, but then I'm going to end up extending it so it looks like it's got a double hem. So I have a blouse on underneath of it, even though I don't. So I'm not going to take any more. And then and usually I'll take it out of the sleeves, especially because I don't want I don't want all that bulk underneath of the arm. Okay, and then you're going to measure it. You want it measured accurately, and I'm going to pin it in certain places. So I'm going to pin it here, put a pin here at the top, We are not talking about where it is on the shoulder seam. That may not be there. I simply want to divide this space into quarters. Okay. And again, here's another. I just want to pin mark it here. Okay. Okay. Then here is my measurement. It goes exactly around the sleeve plus 1/2 inch. I left a 1/2 inch for the seam, underarm seam, and this is going to match exactly, plus have some seam allowance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the machine. I wanted to give this a good crisp press with some spray starch and even a little bit of steam and spray starch, just to make it a little less stretchy. If you're doing this for the first time, I don't recommend you try this on a jersey knit. That would not be a good idea. Okay, so I'm going to take these two short ends and I'm going to sew a 1/2 inch seam allowance. 1/2 inch seam right here, just with a regular straight stitch. And I might even back tack. This can be done on a sewing machine. Okay. Then I want to press this nice and firm. And we're going to use my favorite thing in the whole world, Elmer's washable school glue. Don't recommend other brands. This is sticking to the microphone. Here we go. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to put a little bit of glue, not much, just a little bit here, and press it down. And I'm going to then put it in half, and I'm going to give it a good press. And I'll put some water. You want to have some steam in it, and it's now turning on and dripping everywhere. Oh, I might have broken it because it's not supposed to do that. Whoops. Yeah, no, that's not good. It's leaking everywhere. Told you I dropped it once too often. But you get the idea here. Okay, so if this wants to slide around on you, you know what I do, right? I'm going to take the Elmer's glue just to one end, not a lot. You don't need much of this. I'm just going to open it up and put the glue on one end, just to keep it when I set it together. Well, when the water is done spitting, we don't have any more steam. That's okay. This is why I don't buy the really expensive irons. I'm very hard on irons. I tend to drop them and break them, and they spit and just makes a mess. Here we go. Again, I'm going to take this piece that I just sewed into the round with, that's water. It'll dry. And then I'm going to mark it in quarters. I took the pins and marked it. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the sleeve where I put the pin marks before, and I'm going to put it right sides together. Having that glue that I put between the layers, this no longer shifts on me. A jersey's going to give you all kinds of aggravation, so my suggestion is glue. And even here, I would end up probably gluing right here as well. So what I'm going to do, and now this is going to go to the serger. I'm matching up the underarm seam. This time I'm going to use my clips. And the reason I'm going to use clips is because I am less likely to run over and ruin my blade. But if I have pins, I could miss one and end up running over my blade. And now I've got an expensive repair to my serger. So again, okay, then I take the quadrants and I'm matching up the pins. Take the pins out and put in a clip, because I can't be trusted. Again, here's the other pin. I'll match these up and put in a clip. If you like, you can match the clips. You can put in extra clips here, but it's usually just the 4 is all I really need. Okay, here we go. And put in a clip. I'm going to set my serger or sewing machine. Sleeves don't have a lot of movement to them. You know, like you're not going to do a lot of stretching with your sleeve. They usually fit fairly loosely. So you could just do this with a regular sewing machine, but I'm going to go ahead and do it on a serger. So I've set my serger up for a 3-thread serge. My serger is set for 4-thread overlock, nothing special. I can stitch from either side, but because this does not have a free arm, some people's sergers do. The baby lock doesn't have one. However, it just stitches so nicely. Who cares? So I'm going to start. I have it. My settings are as I have my blade width at M, even though I'm not going to be cutting. I'm going to use. Let's see if we can. I'm going to be like where's the blade? Okay, so my blade is right here. Okay, I have my stitch length at about 2.5. You don't want it too small because it's a knit, and the smaller your stitch length, the more likely your knit is going to stretch, and then you would have to use your differential feed in order to counteract the stretching. But I have my differential feed set at neutral so that it's not stretching or gathering. And I'm working from the inside. And where's the foot pedal? Here it is. And my blade width, I have it at medium, or if it's at 6.0. I have 2 needles in, so I'm doing a 4-thread overlock, and my stitch selector is at A. So I start before the underarm. Okay. And I'm going to just lift it as it comes to that bulkiness. And sometimes I might have to help it through. There we go. And I'm just lining this up. And if it cuts a little bit, that's fine. That was just something else. That was this getting caught on the cutter. It's okay. Did not clip anything. Okay, and take these out before you get there. So I like to use these clips because you can't run over the blade. And then I just sew off. And I'm not too picky about, now if you're really picky about having this, you can clip your threads, and you can also weave them in if that bothers you. If this raw edge, where'd it go? Raw edge bothers you, you can take double-eyed needles. But I've overstitched by over 1 inch, so I don't think I have to. I think we're good. If I were using this as a regular band, this would be the end of it. That would be the bottom, and you could put that at the bottom too. You would top stitch this, which in other words, you would press it towards the inside, the top of the sleeve or the top of the blouse or shirt, and then top stitch this down, either a single with a regular single needle. You could use a twin needle if you don't have a serger that has a cover stitch. You have a cover stitch, even better. But this one I'm going to make what they call a mock double one. It's going to look like a double. So what I'm going to do is I'll start at the bottom. I'm going to come up. I have a line here where the old stitching was, and I think that looks okay. So I'm going to put this as far as I can up here. Doesn't want to move nicely for me. There we go. And I would pin it. And this I can pin, because this I would come over here later and top stitch it down. I usually start at the other end, and I'm just making a fake double hem. I would take this and I usually do this on the ironing board. Come around here several places and come up so that that's nice and even. I'm just going to pin it here. I'm not going to stitch that for now. There. Mostly I'm not going to stitch it because I need to I would want to measure it to make sure I had it even with the other one. And yeah, this one is obviously shorter because I'm just eyeballing it. So I would take something and measure it. And see, now that that's pinned, I would then take a double needle and hem up here like I did here. Where is it? Here. Here it is finished. See, this is just folded over. And then I used a cover stitch, but you could also use a double needle, or if you're really good, you don't have to have a double needle. You could just do one and then the other. Yeah, I'm not that good. And what it does is it flattens the back. It secures it so it doesn't shift on you. And that way it finishes the top and you get a really cute little, see, it looks really cute. Okay. And it'll match on the bottom too. So I like that. Now to do a split band. Now when you're measuring the bottom, okay, you want to measure. The back is not necessarily the same as the front. I measured it and back and front on this one happened to be the same, but what you want to do is you want to double check it and add a 1/2 inch, whatever, or 1/2 inch to each side. So this was 23.5 inches from one end to the other. And then I made it 24.5 inches, and that's how I just cut my piece of fabric. Where did it go? Okay, and this one I cut a little shorter because I wanted the back and the front. So this one here is 24.5 inches long. Okay, now I'm doing a split. If I were doing a plain band that didn't have a split in it, I would join the front and the back together and make it into, and if they were the same width, I would make it all round. So you have just one piece, just like it was the shirt. I would just put a seam, just sew your seams together, then fold it in half and press it really good. But this time, instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it right sides together. How you can tell on a single knit, if you pull in the direction of the stretch, it's going to stretch towards the right side of the knit. With a double knit, it really doesn't matter. You just pick a side because it doesn't really go too much. I happen to like the looks of the wrong side, so I chose that. It does not really matter, but whatever you do, be consistent. If it were a single knit, like this silly thing, I think this is a single knit. So where's that sleeve that I took apart? Okay. Can't find the part I took apart. Here it is. Okay. So this one, if I stretch it, it is, yeah, see, here we go. This is the right side, and it's a single knit, which means it's really flimsy. And if I stretch it, see how it's curling towards me? This is the right side. And I imagine this is also the right side, but I chose to use it the other way. Don't ask me why. I just like the looks of it better. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to take it what I call right sides together. Okay. And I'm going to sew a 1/2 inch seam. So I'm going to do that on the sewing machine. Okay, and so I just, again, 1/2 inch seam. And I want to, let's see, here's a 1/2 inch here. Okay, and I want to clip the corners. Okay, and I clip them both. I'm going to turn it inside out and give it a good press, and with a point turner, which I am using scissors because remember last week I broke my point turner. But usually before I do the second side, I double check this fit. And it's a little bit, the other one ended up to be a little bit big, so I'm going to make this about an inch seam. It's a little long. Okay, so I'll make it about an inch. Come on. No wonder I have it on. Okay, again, I'm going to trim it and trim my corners. Turn it inside out. Usually I would also press it really good, and I'm often using spray starch here. Okay, there. Now, here we go. No, I'm not going to press it, but usually I would give this a good press, and I want those finished. So then I'm going to come over to the serger. Okay, and I want to pin it. Again, I'm going to find the center, find my centers, and mark it with a pin. And find the center of the shirt or the hem and mark it with a pin. So put it together. Now I'm not measuring. Let it do it itself. So I just find the middle. Here's my center and mark it with a pin. Now I want to put these right next to each other. Okay. And clip it. And then find the middle. And again, I'm going to clip this several places. Rid of the pins. I love my Wonder Clips. I'm going to take this to the sewing machine, and I'm going to put in a basting stitch. And just a little before and a little after, I want to pinch those together really good right here and just stitch it. Doesn't need much. I just don't want that to split. See, it's basted. Okay, and I'll baste the other side. Mostly the reason that I do that is the fact that when you're working with a serger, a lot of times you've got, look, a good 1.5 inches from the front of the foot until where the needle hits, and you don't know whether you're getting it or not. You can't tell a lot of times. So that's why I'm going to baste it. And I'll go backwards this time. And I can take that basting out. I'm not even caring where it's going to match or not. Okay, so now I'm going to set up my machine again. The 4-thread overlock. And I usually will pick someplace, doesn't matter where you start. Okay. And I'm going to, I had started it before, by the way, so I'm just picking it up where I left off. Okay, again, I'm not changing this. I think I had it blade wider last time when I stitched it before. Okay, and again, I'm going to sew all the way around. I'm pinching it where it joins so that it doesn't separate. Okay. And take your time. Don't rush on this. This one I'm just trimming a little bit off and making sure it doesn't curl underneath. So it wants to curl today. All three edges are even. What I did on my machine, I don't know if you can see this, that right here where the blade is, I took a mark because that's where I know the blade hits when it's on M. And that's where I'm using as a guide. We're almost there. And over here, I'm going to make sure I get that good and pinched together so it doesn't separate on me. Okay. And see, this is, now here's the sides. If you can see the sides. Not the, there. There's my side. And now notice this is the back. It's going to be a little bit lower because I have a little more on the back that I like to talk about. If I wanted to make this a double band, which I do, because that's why I wanted this so long, because a lot of it was going to be taken up by the fact that I'm going to hem this again. Straighten it out. So here's it finished. It's hard to see the whole thing, but this is the back. And I could just stitch it here, but like I said, I pulled it out because I wanted it to be a little longer, but not that much longer. That's why I pulled it out. And then I would take this to the ironing board. We'll pretend this is the ironing board here. And take this over. And whether I'd measure it, you know, so that it was all pretty even. And once it's how I like it, which would be the bottom of this stitching, I would measure it and then pin it. And that way, where's the pins? Here we are. So the side, when it would be done. See, again, I would pinch those together and then see, now you've got this split here, so that makes it a little more comfortable, so you got a little more room to move, because a lot of times in a long t-shirt you feel like you're strangling. Okay, and the front is shorter than the back, and that's okay. I think it would look cute, especially with the sleeves. I'm not going to use the cover stitch now because I want to get this, I want to take my time and get that all nice and straight, and before I do the stitching here, and then I'll have a flap, and it looks like I've got two blouses on, and I don't. Any questions at all? So like I said, this is a great way to make something old new again, and all it takes is maybe, I think it was maybe, well, 5 inches plus 7 inches. Okay, a third of a yard of fabric that I had left over from another blouse. So I always save these pieces, and you can use them again in other places. So like I need to save more fabric.
Like more thread, you know.
Yes, like more thread. So
more zippers, more everything.
Next week I'll be taking some more baby lock training that's going to be on the serger, and they sent me a big box of stuff, so they're going to keep me busy, really busy, for 3 solid days next week. So there's lots of things to do. I like taking their classes.
You going in person?
It's by Zoom.
Oh, Zoom.
So, yeah, we're supposed to take training once a month, and I'm just taking training over again because I haven't done training in like 15 years. So it's the new machines and what's new to demo on them and stuff like that, but I get to learn a lot of stuff. Plus you get points for taking these classes, which I love. That's how I end up with, fancy lamps, magnetic hoops. It's how I got my silhouette, the cameo silhouette, which has been under the table for 7 years.
Gotta take it out and use it.
Do this stuff. That's part of the problem.
Yeah, they said that, what is it, if you do what in the hoop items, you can use the SVG files to cut the materials, so you won't have to,
I did that once with Renee's class. I took a scan and cut class with her, and by the time I got one piece cut out with that thing, I could have done a dozen of them. It takes too long. Just cut it, works just as
Well,
well.
I haven't tried it yet, so I'm not buying the scan and cut. I've got like a couple of crickets here, so
Yeah.
I can try it with that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's about all I have for you this week. And we finished a whole 4 minutes early. So
Yeah, I got a question. I missed, I guess last week was like when you did the snack bags. Is there any way to find it on
should be last week's if you look on our Facebook page, it should be what was transmitted last week should be there.
Okay.
It's on below this one.
On
Oh.
the site, I don't think it is.
It was done on October 20th. Yeah, I'm seeing it on because I'm on. I don't know if you can.
Facebook?
Yeah,
Well,
I'm wearing.
Is that Facebook?
Yeah, this is
Mhm.
Facebook.
But what's it under?
It's So Easy. This was under So Easy Sewing LLC, Virginia.
Oh,
Okay,
I
I'll look.
just pulled it up before I got on the Zoom, and it wasn't under that. It was this Zoom call wasn't under that, but when I went to the LLC Virginia, there was nothing. There was
Nothing?
as if she had pulled it offline.
No, it's still there. That
Okay, well, that's good.
Okay, I'll look.
I can send you I'll send you a link. I think I can send you a link. Let me write that down
Sure.
here, and I'll forget what I said. What am I going to send her? I do that a
The
lot.
link.
I like
Send
links.
Judy something, I don't remember what. No, I need it. Okay, let's see. Zoom to last week.
Yeah, I think I got the link where you gave us the information about a serger quilt or so a couple of weeks
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Well,
they
I got the
should be there.
PDF that you
Let's see
sent.
if they are on. Yeah, because I'm seeing it here. Let me look and see if it's on video, or I look at the video section. Okay, I think that's it for today. Okay, well, I will see you guys next week. I'll see you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.